Hey guys, what's up? The History of is back. This is episode 2. This is where I give you the full history of a band and or artist. Episode 1, I gave you the history of the pop punk, now kind of more pop rock band, Paramore. Today I'm going to do a band that hasn't been around that long, mainly 7 years already, has 3 studio albums, but is one of my favorite pop acts of the 2010s, and today we're going to be taking a look at the history of the Scottish rock band Chvrches. So hopefully this one goes a little bit quicker because I don't have to deal with any band member changes, and like I said, they haven't been around that long, so there might not be that much to talk about in this one, but I figured it's a pretty cool band to kind of give you the history of, and as they gain popularity throughout the world. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get it started. So Chvrches is a synth pop band that formed in September 2011. They are from Glasgow, Scotland, and the members are Lauren Mayberry, who is the lead singer, Ian Cook, and also Martin Doherty, who do the main synth work and other instruments like guitar, drums, etc. You name it. They were both all in a bunch of bands at the time, and they didn't really record a lot of music. They recorded a bunch of EPs, but in 2012, November 2012, the band actually released their first debut single, The Mother We Share, which actually blew up not just in the US, but in other places like Japan and their home country, Scotland. And even though the album wasn't supposed to come out till almost a full year later, they started gaining popularity with that one song. And throughout 2013, they released other singles like Lies and Recover. And Recover was actually the premiere single on their Recover EP, which did come out in February of that year. That had been the first thing they released. On June 19th of 2013, Chvrches actually made their US TV debut, performing The Mother We Share, of course, on The Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. And then they released the single, their single Gun, a month later. In July of 2013, Chvrches supported Depeche Mode on 4 shows from the Delta Machine tour, Depeche Mode being a big band in itself over its history. And on September 20th of 2013, the band ended up releasing their debut studio album, The Bones of What You Believe. And this one ended up being one of the best albums of 2013, receiving an 80 out of 100 on Metacritic and a lot of positive reviews, including 8 out of 10s and a couple perfect stars here and there. The album is 12 tracks long and features 7 singles. That's right, 7 singles. It is one of the most successful debut albums in my lifetime, with the singles The Mother We Share, Recover, Gun, Lies, We Sink, Under the Tide, and Teether. There were also special edition tracks that featured songs like Strong Hands and Broken Bones, which were pretty good. And if you got one of the deluxe editions, you got their cover of Janelle Monáe's Tightrope, which is a fantastic rendition of the song in itself. And not only did the band get called a synth pop band, but they were also called an alternative rock band, as they did do a lot of soft rock, indie rock stuff, and thus making their popularity a lot bigger. And they definitely grew and grew and grew, and time was to come to follow up their debut album. So after a full year of touring, January of 2015, they started to record their second studio album. Now on June 5th, they announced that they had completed work for it. So a full 4 months, that's pretty quick. 5 months, 4 or 5 months. And on July 16th of 2015, the band actually revealed the release date, the cover art, and the track listing for the new album. And that was found out to be the album Every Open Eye is what it would be called. And then the following day, they released the album's first single, Leave a Trace. And that would be the only single released before the album came out, which it was also released in September 25th of 2015. And this one kind of saw them take a different route than what we were usually used to hearing from them in their debut album. The indie rock, alternative rock feeling isn't so much there. It's more just a synth pop record that kind of takes you as a throwback to the 80s. Afterwards, Neverending Circles was released before the album, and Clear as Blue also 2 weeks before the album as well, but Empty Threat and Bury It were later made singles. Once again, this album got positive reviews, maybe not as much as their first one, but it barely, did worse than their debut album. And if you got the deluxe edition, again, you got 3 great singles, Getaway, Follow You, and Bow Down, along with the German edition of Up in Arms. And at some point, you would get the later edition of Bury It, which I will mention later. But yeah, they continued touring, and they also got to write the original song for the video game Mirror's Edge: The Catalyst, called Warning Call, which was released on May 13th of 2016. And then on June of 2016, they actually did a remix version of their song Bury It, if you want to call it that, which featured Hayley Williams. And this one was made the 5th and final single of the album. This so-called rendition of the song does not appear on the album, but even Hayley Williams being in there, it's cool and all, and I like it, but it doesn't change it a lot. But would definitely go take a listen as to what it sounded like with and without her. And the music video was pretty interesting. It was a animated music video which featured the trio and Hayley Williams herself demonstrating telekinetic powers, and it was very interesting. Then afterwards, they kind of took some time off. In 2017, they began working on their 3rd studio album. The last thing they had released before that was Warning Call from Mirror's Edge, and they even got called in to do the main theme for the Hunger Games soundtrack at some point in time. And on February 2014, Dave Stewart of the Arithmetics actually posted on Twitter that he had been working with the band, and on December 12th of that year, it was announced that Greg Kurstin had been chosen to produce the album. Now, why was this weird to fans? Well, Chvrches' first 2 albums were self-produced. It was those 3 and those 3 only. And they were getting a producer for the first time, which kind of freaked fans out, because usually when you get a producer, when you're told to do different things. But in this point, we were just going to have to wait and see. And in January of 2018, Lauren Mayberry stated that the album would be titled Love Is Dead, and then Get Out was released on January 31st of 2018, the first single of the album. And throughout that whole time, they had been releasing subliminal messages, and even in the music video, or not music video, but the video for Get Out, you see a phone number in the top left corner that you call that ended up being lyrics to what would end up being their 2nd single, My Enemy, which was released almost a month later on February 28th. And this song was their first to have an official feature on an album, and this song featured the Nationalist Matt Berringer. And then on February 26th, actually 2 days before My Enemy was released, the track album had been unveiled, and it was said that 13 new songs were going to come into play for this band. And then on March 29th, they released the 3rd single, Never Say Die, and on April 10th, a month before the album came out, they released Miracle as the 4th and final single. So, on May 25th of 2018, the band ended up releasing their 3rd studio album, which was titled Love Is Dead, their longest studio album to date, just barely clocking over 49 minutes. And this one is definitely their worst reviewed by far, getting mixed reviews saying that most of the songs' choruses have been repetitive, and this just doesn't seem that it fit their whole, demeanor of what they were known for, although still having that synth pop vibe, kind of returning to an alternative rock vibe, like a song like Miracle. It's probably one of the heaviest they've ever made and had a really cool music video attached to it. But other than that, the album is still praised as being one of the best of the year, and one that people praise Chvrches for, kind of going out of their comfort zone and doing different things, and that has since led to other things, including another, not really single being released, but a song called Out of My Head, which sees Chvrches go more into the into the J-pop, K-pop kind of realm, and that song ends up featuring Wednesday Campanella, who is a Japanese artist, and it ended up being an okay track. People were surprised by it. It was supposed to end up on another video game, so that was interesting to see. And really, since then, that's all we've really heard from them. They've been touring and becoming more and more popular in the US as days go on. So yeah, that does it for my history of Chvrches. Hopefully they release another single soon. They haven't since April, and there's two or three songs I can name that I would like to see singles before this whole album cycle for this album ends. But yeah, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of the History Of. I figure, I did a big one to start off. We'll do a little bit shorter one, not a lot to talk about, but still a good band to kind of give its short history of through 3 studio albums in 7 years. To keeping band members consistent, it was a lot easier for me to look up stuff and just give you the history of this band. So yeah, that does it with my second episode of the History Of. Catch me in episode 3. I'll either do Linkin Park or Fall Out Boy, depending on which one I feel like doing. Those are going to be some of the longer ones that I have, because they've been around longer than Paramore and Chvrches, so yeah, we'll just have to wait and see which one I feel like doing around that time. But yeah, anyway, that does it. Tell me in the comments below what bands or artists you want me to do for a later episode of the History Of. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, share, and I'll catch you guys next time.
That you should go.